I wanted to ask all of you what is the missed opportunity, because I wonder if, Andre, you have a different answer than Prasad, where connected television is an Are you? Oh, no. Wait, well, I mean, listen, you have the connected television ecosystem, you have the addressable ecosystem, and then forget about linear. I mean, there's a whole other ecosystem out there. For you, what's the biggest missed opportunity, for agencies and marketers right now? Or content providers, actually.
I think it's cross-screen, and when I say cross-screen, we're seeing a huge amount of increased demand for people to market across connected TV and OTT, and then we're also hearing the same things about addressable TV, and then you hear the same thing about mobile. It's weird. So you have 3 different screens, and different agencies, or sometimes different groups in the same agency, are saying that this is the focus, this is the focus. I think that the biggest missed opportunity, it's not because people don't realize it, I think people are working towards it, is truly being able to engage consumers, the same consumer, the same household, across these different screens where they're increasingly spending a lot of their time. So, these aren't monolithic groups, so it's not this household only has a Roku. This household has a Roku, 4 smartphones, an Xbox, and 3 Comcast set-top boxes. So I think it's realizing that it's all the same audience. They're just accessing media across different devices. And I think one of the things that excited us, and I think it's been really transformative for us in our business, is being able to partner with Experian and having a partner that can help make our data actionable across. We couldn't. It was funny. We talked to Prasad a year ago. And he was like, yeah, I'd love to get my hands on your data, but how am I going to get it? And then, now with Experian, that's possible. So I think cross-screen is the biggest missed opportunity that people still have to catch up on.
So maybe a slightly different question for Chris, and I didn't prep you for this one, so I'm sorry. What about consumers in all of this? How do we all, as an industry, think about being good stewards of a great consumer experience? Is there a moment when the consumer starts to say, wait a second, I'm starting to notice that my TV commercials are things that I look for online, or I went to a store, and what do we do? How do we think about that?
So when you have first-party data sets that can talk through a translation partner like Experian, where PII is not just preserved, it's safe, secure. In this execution, neither Dish nor nor the advertiser ever knows that it's Joanna. They don't know that it's you. And so in a world of Facebook and Snapchat, where there is a whole lot of sharing going on, while the data talks and allows insights and measurement in really specific ways, it preserves identity. And so I do think in this addressable end of TV, where there's a lot of questions about people's private information, their personal information, their identities, it is absolutely secure in this configuration. So, to your point, I mean, we don't exist in TV without Experian. And so it's this very unique ability, I think, today to plumb this such that an advertiser can learn that something is worth, the money they're spending is working. The consumer gets a better experience. I don't know about the rest of you, but these days when if I get an ad, it could be digital, it could be TV, that just doesn't resonate with me, it can be grating. And in some way, I think people are starting to feel like, why did I just see that? Don't they know? They do. Perfect example, I bought a mattress, and 9 months later, I'm still being retargeted. And I sent an email to the CMO of the company, and I'm like, good grief. How much money are you spending on me? I bought 9 months ago. And so even as a consumer, I think you think there's windows where I show me this. I think Google's been great at, search has been great at it in terms of getting people on target, understanding intent. And I think this is going to start to close the loop in the heaviest marketplace of there was intent, and now we can close the loop, and someone bought, and it's a better experience. It's a better ad experience for the consumer, and it's a better experience for clients who are spending money. And I think that's how we think of it. Are we connecting buyers and clients securely and giving them a better experience? And that's what our data is, I think, empowering Experian and Dish to do.
So then, for you, Brad, because you are sitting on the PII, and I have no doubt that you are exceptionally careful with it as Experian. How do you counsel marketers to be thinking about, or maybe agencies to be thinking about targeting intelligently but respectfully? Or how do you are you guys starting to have those conversations? Or maybe Prasad, same question for you. Are you there yet? We're certainly there in the digital world. I'm wondering in the television world if you're there.
I think addressable TV in the grand scheme of TV is too small for this to sort of rise to the top of anyone's radar just yet. But it's something to think about. And I think to answer your previous question, I think consumers will accept this if there is a fair value exchange. If I can see my television experience become better, then I'm willing to pay the price of sort of a targeted ad. Clearly that's not happening in digital, which is why you're seeing ad blocking. The equivalent of TV is 20 minutes per hour of ads, right? And if you sort of then have 22 minutes of ads and 28 minutes of ads, and that doesn't make for a great consumer experience. So along with sort of the targetability, it needs to be some value exchange for the consumer that is, okay, I'm getting more content, I'm getting better content, that is making me feel entertained. Hopefully that will happen. So.
For any of you, what's your sort of very favorite live example of an amazing, smart campaign? Somebody who had a great idea, experimented, tried something. Who's got a favorite?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of auto campaigns that have done very well. And again, as we all know, auto is the primary advertiser for addressable TV, and it has exceptional transactional data on the back end. So we can measure that, and we've seen 4 to 1 on ad spend. In other words, 4 times the return in auto sales for what they spend on that campaign, which is tremendous. So they just they see that and keep going. I know you guys have seen it. So that's an example.
I think telco wireless is really leading in this area. I mean, obviously they have a lot of their own data. They're not kind of share a wallet. They're binary. Either I am or I'm not. And so I think where they can leverage this to be very specific in how to move a subscriber up the chain inside of their own kind of cycle, or to look to go bring a subscriber over from somebody else who's kind of in the right place and mix for them. I think telco and wireless certainly, along with their data, has some real advantages in this part of the world.
So how about on the content side? I mean, are you finding that, when you give content providers this data, is it shaping the prices that they're charging back to buyers? I understand the value of my content better, so therefore I can charge more. Is it about changing the actual content that they create? Is it just influencing their ad sales, or is it influencing content development?
I can tell you what thoughts. I mean, one of the things we jokingly say in the office is that content owners are now asking us to help them play, I would say, not Powerball, that was great too, but Moneyball with content acquisition or content production. It's like, one of the things kind of related to the last example as well. So we announced a partnership with Mindshare a few months ago to create something called a microgenre graph. And what that allows us to know is that if you are 18 to 34-year-old Caucasian female in Omaha, Nebraska, right, and you watch Scandal, what are the top 10 other TV shows that you're most likely to watch? Or if you watch Scandal, what are the 5 musicians you're most likely to listen to? And it's just doing like all this psychographic analysis, leveraging the data. So it's using that type of same insight to figure out, well, if I have this audience and I produce or I license this type of content, it'll resonate better with my audience. Or for content personalization and recommendation, if they just came and they just watched this on my OTT app, well, what else should I be recommending that they watch? And then obviously that same thing can have an impact for advertising as well. So if you know that a certain household is over-indexing or watching a certain show, and maybe you don't have the demographic information available for that household. We can look back and say, oh, well, other households that are watching this seem to over-index for eating at Arby's, right? And then, so you tell, Jersey Mike's, you want to advertise to the people that probably go to Arby's, because
Wait, what's, huh?
Jersey Mike's, isn't that the sub?
Yeah, sub.
It's like a Bluebees. All right. So I think it's really just, and I think we're still, early on in this, is really figuring out ways, now that there's the ability to layer on all this cross-screen media and entertainment consumption against demographics, against previous data. I mean, it's pretty exciting to even think about what the capabilities will be to be able to.
Yes, and that's kind of might be the missed opportunity here, is taking all these data sets that are out there now, because there's a whole lot of them, and we're all going to try and put them together, but the advertisers are struggling with that as well. So putting these new data sets that either are unknown to advertisers or don't know they can connect them with privacy, putting that together is still nascent and still.
But to your question, there's a cost component with this, right? And so I think as we put this together and worked with Experian and Dish on this, I mean, I clearly remember one of my first calls with Prasad. Hey, just because you have a great data set doesn't mean I am going to be able to raise prices by this much, and so we have to work together. And so I think as data like Cardlytics comes into the system, one of the real questions you have to answer is, for a client, the agencies ask, I have a budget, how much of it is working media versus what is being utilized to power data and targeting and measurement? And so I do think there is a responsibility as you come into the system and as the system starts to change to work with partners in a way that agencies aren't having to go back to clients and sell some big upswing in CPMs, or that takes everybody working together to make sure that as capabilities come in, that people can test and they can move into new regimes of measurement without breaking the bank.
Right. Well, it's funny because I'm such a purist, I can't help it. I've been on this mission for 10 years to move from cheapness equaling efficiency, because it doesn't, right? It's a totally different paradigm. So it's funny because what I really want us to be able to do is then prove that if it's more expensive, it's more than worth the value. But do it in a way that the agency and the marketer totally understand. So they understand the value exchange between 2 or 3 partners, right, but a much higher return, right? Versus just my CPM went up.
And if that goes up like this, I think everybody, especially clients who are ultimately paying for the media, go, okay, I see but when it just goes from here to here, then it puts everybody in a tough position. And so I think to get people to understand those outputs, and again, Prasad's been great here, in being able to bring it in a way that clients can test, they can feel strong about their ability to test, and we can continue to kind of.
It needs to be palatable enough to get them started.
Yep.
Yeah.